What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, aka SaefongOutdoors, and today I'll be giving you 3 tips on how to catch more trout in 2025. So the 3 tips I'm about to give you today are very basic and most of the time common knowledge, but for somebody starting out or people that just don't know these tips are going to be very beneficial for you and crucial to your success in 2025. Getting started with tip number 1 is your line. Pay attention to your line. So trout are very reliant on their eyes to go and find their next meal, whether that be bugs on the surface of the water or little worms on the bottom of the water, little types of minnows or fish or whatever they may be feeding on. Most of the time they're going to be using their eyes to go and find that next meal. What you should do as a trout fisherman is use a low visibility line. The most commonly used line is going to be fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon is a type of line. It is not a brand of line. You can use whatever brand you like, but the benefits of using fluorocarbon is that it is very low in visibility, which is crucial because the fish won't be able to see your line and it'll only be focusing on your bait. It'll give you a higher chance of tricking that fish into biting your bait. All right, so now we're moving on to tip number 2. So this tip is actually going to be very crucial for any type of fish you go fishing for, not just trout. So really pay attention to this one. You have to pay attention to the weather. So fish, they depend so much on the weather for a lot of their functions, right? For mating, for eating. A lot of things that they do is very dependent on what the weather is, what the water temperature is. So you have to really pay attention to what your area that you're about to go fish at, what the normal temperatures are like for that time of year, and what has it been recently. I can't give you a specific range of when you should go fishing, but you have to pay attention to where your area is and what the temperatures are in that area. Most of the time, if there is a huge drop in temperature, like I would say anything more than 7 degrees overnight, and for the past 3 weeks, there's been an average temperature and all of a sudden there's just a huge drop, that a lot of times is gonna kill your bite. That is called a cold front. And you probably shouldn't go fishing that day, but if you have an itch and you must go fishing, then just be aware that that can kill your bite. As well as things like the rain, it can really change the water clarity. It'll really change the way the fish are acting that day. If the water is extremely murky, they might not be able to see your bait as much, and that's due to the rain, as well as there's a lot of silt from the bottom of the lake coming up from the water flowing in, and things are just flowing into the water. There's a lot of things changing in the water that could really affect the fish biting that day. Paying attention to these types of things are really important for you as a fisherman. When you go out to your body of water, you have to be able to adapt, change your lures, change your approach to how you try to catch these fish. And ultimately, paying attention to these things will help you figure out how to catch them in the most efficient way. And lastly, but not least, you have tip number 3. And that is, for trout, you really have to figure out what kind of mood they are in. Sometimes you're very lucky and you can throw your whole tackle box and they'll eat your whole tackle box. But trout are known to be very finicky and very scared fish. And what you have to do is figure out whether they're in a chasing mood or whether or not they're more so in a very slow, lethargic eating type of mood. So you'll have bait like power bait, mice tails, whatever type of bait, night crawlers, and you throw it out and you sit there and wait. And a lot of times there's trout flowing everywhere, but they won't eat any of it. A lot of times because that bait is just sitting there. But for you as a fisherman, you have to figure out what type of mood the fish are in. If you go out and you're fishing for 3 hours and you'll be using night crawlers, power bait, mice tails, all types of things, and all bait that's just sitting on the bottom of the water or in the middle of the water column, wherever it may be, and the trout don't want it. And then after all that time, you decide to switch up really quickly and you put on a cast master or a spinner, and the first couple casts in, you get a trout. That automatically is a hint to you that they might be in a chasing mood. You do a little bit more fishing, another 5-10 minutes, and you catch another one. Then you should start to realize that fish that day are definitely in a chasing mood, and you should just apply all your efforts into those techniques to go and catch that trout. And this type of testing works both ways. If you're throwing spinners or cast masters all day, couple hours, and you have no bite or is very, very slow, and the minute you switch up and you switch over to power bait or mice tails and they bite, then you should really think about it and put 2 and 2 together and figure out that they're in a more slower, more lethargic type of mood, and they need some scent, and they just need some time to pick up the bait, and that's how you should be trying to catch that fish that day. So the next time you go fishing, go ahead and pay attention to these 3 tips, apply them to your own fishing, and I can almost guarantee you're going to be catching more fish in 2025. Thank you for watching this far. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. And as always, I'll catch you next time. There it is. Come on, baby. Ooh. Power. But I finally did it. It looks kind of crazy. I'm walking on the train tracks right now. Welcome back, folks. There you go.